Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm very excited that you are here. My name is Nele and today I will be sharing a very personal story. It's my first birth story and I want to share all the specifics that I learned about choosing the hospital, about going there, and all the little details. I realized that many things will be different from your experience, and if you're pregnant, then congratulations. I'm always very excited about moms-to-be. I'm a mom myself. I have two kids. One is 9 months old, another is 2 years and 9 months old. Yes, my kids were born one day apart. I will share today the story about my firstborn. So I had a vaginal natural birth, and with my second I had a C-section, but I will leave that story for another time because it's slightly different. So today I will be covering several different aspects and I hope you'll get some useful tips and tricks and information about the giving birth here in Switzerland. And if you are into this type of content, then don't forget to subscribe, and I will share more in the future videos. The first thing which you will have to choose when you are still pregnant is the hospital of your choice. And you can choose a hospital, you can also choose a birth house, you can choose even a home birth. It's an option in Switzerland. If you have a complicated pregnancy, then you have pretty much good choice. And also, if you are scared of birth, like really scared, you can also choose an elective C-section. You just have to talk to your gynecologist about it and see what are the pros and the cons, and then make your own decision. So when you're choosing the hospital, it's really important for you to understand what kind of care they're offering, what is included in your health insurance. And to do so, my recommendation would be to check the hospital's website and check if they have something they call info abends for future parents. So that's basically what our hospital offered. They had like an information session where they would present what options they have for new mothers, what kind of pain management options they support, what kind of birth options they support, because it will be different from hospital to hospital. Some will have like bathtub available, other might not. And in our case, we could ask them many questions and they would present like what kind of practices they have. We could also ask them if they are speaking English, as we didn't feel very comfortable speaking in German, even though at the end of the day we kind of did. But that's one of the things to do. So you can visit several hospitals. They normally have those info abends in the evening, so you can go there after working time, and then you can just figure all information and make your informed decision. We actually ended up visiting just one hospital, and we were very, very happy about it. It was also the hospital which the gynecologist recommended, so we just signed up for it. So once you choose your hospital, you will have to submit like an application document where you'll submit your details, like your expected date of birth and your preferences as well, like what type of pain management would you like, what type of birth are you expecting or like wishing for. Also, if you have any specific preferences, maybe some allergies or some like requirements, like I don't know, you want to have your own music or your own support, if you want to have a doula on site and different stuff. For us, it was more about having my husband on site. That was non-negotiable, and of course he was fully welcome to be there and participate in everything. And then we also wanted to have an epidural. For me, it was also very important that they could suggest it freely. And so that's basically how we chose the hospital. So once you chose the hospital, then you just progress with your pregnancy, and then the birth happens. So for us, it started early in the morning at like 4 in the morning. I started feeling some sort of contractions and then my water broke. For some other people, ladies, it can be different. It can like start with contractions, it can start with waters, it can start with like some additional sensations. But the first thing is when you start feeling that you are about to give birth, there is no need to panic, there is no need to rush, there is no need to fly to the hospital. And most of the cases, it's pretty different from the movies when the baby is out there in like 3 minutes. You still have time, especially if it's your first pregnancy and first birth. So the first thing to do actually is to simply call your hospital and ask them what is it like what should you do? Should you come? Should you wait? And normally they would ask you like, how regular are your contractions? And for that, of course, I would just like instantly have some contractions tracking app ready, and I would know exactly, okay, it's 10 minutes apart. Is it regular? Is it irregular? Once your contractions start to be there regularly, every 10 to 7 minutes, you know it's a real birth and it's actually happening, and you should go to the hospital. We did go to the hospital, and another question naturally arises: how do you get there? We have a car, so we could drive. And my husband was there to drive me because, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't drive having contractions because it's a little bit unpredictable. And another way is to get a taxi, especially if it's middle of the night and the public transport is not really an option. Some people do take public transportation if that's like something that you have conveniently located and you are able to walk, then you can do that. But in any case, there is always an ambulance that can take you to the hospital. But one important thing here is to know whether you have an ambulance insurance, because in Switzerland, ambulances cost extra, and I'm not really sure if it's covered during the pregnancy as an additional cost, because it can charge you like 5 to 6, 700 francs, depending on the location. And I guess that's the last expense that you want to be making when you're giving birth. So just check if you have that insurance available. It's actually pretty cheap. It's like extra 2 francs per month to your health insurance. And if you use it once, it basically pays back for like 5 years. So yes, so ambulance is also an option. And also when it comes to driving there, if you're coming by car, it's always nice to know about the parking situation, because in some places parking can be limited. It can also be very expensive, or it can be both. Most likely it's gonna be both. And our hospital was Bülach, so it's a little bit outside Zurich. And for us, it's conveniently located. It's like 15 minutes on the highway. And then we went there beforehand, so we knew where the parking is and like how we can leave the car. And the thing is that if you come for the birth, most likely your partner will also stay longer. And then if you are parking the car and the birth is taking like, I don't know, 20 hours, 30 hours sometimes, depending on the situation, then that parking bill can really add up. So that's why it's important to just check the options before you're going, and then you can decide for yourself. So now you arrived. What happens next? For us, it was that we went to the birth hall. So they had signs for like birth admission, and you can always ask the staff in the hospital. They will just basically show you the way. And then they would administer us. And as we were registered in that hospital, they were actually expecting us. So we called, and then they knew that we are coming, and they had like everything ready for us, which was super nice. And then they would measure me, they would measure like blood pressure, they would do a CTG scan to see how contractions are going, they would check the dilation. And then as I informed them beforehand that I will want to have an epidural, they also set a catheter in my hand, so it's everything like basically ready for that. So they escorted us to the birth room, and that was the time when I was very positively surprised, because the birth room was very well equipped. I mean, the hospital is not like brand new, it's not like somehow very beautiful or anything, but the birth room was, at least for me, it was beyond my expectations. It was cozy, it was very well equipped, it had everything I needed for birth. It had like a bounce ball, it had the sling, it had like the bed, the different chairs, you could sit, you could bounce, you could walk around. It was also very private, so we could stay there, just the two of us. From time to time, midwives would come and check on me. It also had like a shower and the bathroom, and I could just be there and like, I don't know, experience the birth and like laugh and dance with my partner. And the nicest thing about that room was that it also had a Spotify account on the tablet, and the speakers were just basically located throughout the room, so we could simply play our own playlist, our music. Just it would make me more relaxed and more at ease. And I mean, the birth can take a while, so it's nice to have something that brings you this good energy, you know. And then if I wanted to give birth in the bathtub, I could also choose that. I didn't want to, but the bathtub was just readily available next doors, so that was also nice. We started like waiting for the birth to progress, and the nice part about that hospital was that it had a little garden, so I could walk around. We also went to have breakfast because it was still very early in the morning and I could eat, which was nice. And then we would just walk around and I would stop every contraction. And then, of course, the birth got more intense and more painful, and that's where I wanted to have my epidural. So we had an epidural administered, and oh my goodness, I can tell you, for me it was the best feeling in the world. I was able to breathe again, to relax, because I started vomiting because of the intensity of pain. And then I just said, like, I can't bear it anymore. Like, for me, it was a bit too much. And then with epidural, it was super nice. And in Switzerland, they do something called walking epidural. So that's when they give you an epidural, but you are still able to move. So you're able to move your legs, you're able to move positions, you're able to kneel. Like, I really didn't want to give birth on my back because I was so scared of tearing. But then when I was having this epidural and I could still like move on the side or just lean onto something, then I was happy with how the contractions felt. And at first it worked very, very good. But then after some time, I started feeling more pain because apparently my epidural has shifted to one side, and that happens. And then they gave me some additional medication like morphine, I think. And then the labor got so intense to the point that it was time to push, and therefore I couldn't get another epidural or anything. But I mean, my body was ready and my baby was also ready. And the thing was that my baby was experiencing some like drops in his heart rate. So they really wanted to get him out as soon as possible. And therefore they decided to do the vacuum extraction. And so I had to be on my back, even though I didn't really want it. But then everything worked out. I didn't really tear the muscles, just the skin layer, which was fine. And that it healed very nicely. So that part was good. And then, I mean, for me, the pushing phase was super quick. And within the 3 pushes, the baby was already there. And then immediately after he was out, they would cut the cord, like my husband could do that. And then I could get him on me for the skin-to-skin contact, for initial latching, and it was just very nice moment. And everything was just like super smooth when I think about it. I was so euphoric, I don't even remember how everything was progressing. I just know that like the pain was over, everything was like getting fine. And then, yeah, the baby was already there. And I mean, with the first one, you just experience it very, very differently. And I was just somewhere else. So yes, and then after that, I don't know, it became a little bit hazy, I believe, but I was delivering placenta, and then the baby got like all measured, all cleaned, everything was happening in the same room. So like it was all well equipped, like they had the scales, they had the clothes, they had everything just there. So they didn't need to bring my baby outside, and that was super nice. And after that, the baby fell asleep. And during that time, my husband was able to finalize all the paperwork. And that was like, in a way it was surprising, but very positively, because they would bring all the papers that we needed to fill out regarding the baby when it comes to like his nationality, his name, everything. And then we just filled out those papers and they shipped directly from the hospital to the city council. And then we initially just got the birth certificate directly to post. I mean, it was really well organized. We didn't need to do anything extra. We then just needed to figure out the like registration with our own country because none of us are Swiss, and therefore it was a little bit different procedure rather than when one of you is Swiss. And yes, so then after the baby was born, I took a nap, I took a shower. After I was able to stand and took a shower, then they would escort me to the hospital room where I would stay overnight. And my husband had to leave because we didn't pay for a family room and we had a basic insurance only, so I could stay there with my baby. My baby was always next to me, which was super nice. and then I could sleep with him. It was a little bit scary, but the nurses were always there, and they would help with nursing, they would help with pumping, they would help with like changing him. And I mean, as it was my firstborn, I was trying to see everything. I was standing up in the middle of the night just to see them change his diaper. I mean, I was just, yeah, I was just there all the time. And then, of course, I still felt a little bit heavy and dizzy maybe from all the medication and stuff. But overall, I could walk, I could breastfeed him. He didn't really want to latch, so I had to pump as well, and that worked fine. But then, yes, so I stayed in that room, and as we had the basic insurance, I had a neighbor, so we were 2 people in the room. And unfortunately, throughout the night, the neighbor's baby cried. I mean, it is expected, but then the problem was that it was all one after another. So my baby cried, and then he fell asleep, and then her baby woke up, and then her baby started crying. So I spent maybe only 2 hours sleeping throughout the night, but I guess I was too excited to sleep anyway. So then when she was leaving the next day, we asked if we could upgrade to a single room, and as it was available, we could just basically request it, and we had to pay extra 300 francs per night, and we could have a room to ourselves. And it was nice because then my husband could also come during normal visiting hours. I mean, as a close relative, he could come during the extended visiting hours, not like regular, because regular visiting hours are from like 3 or 4 in the afternoon only, and he could be there as early as 8 o'clock in the morning if he wanted to, because he's the closest relative. So he couldn't spend the night, but he could come and be there entire day with me, take care of the baby. In total, we stayed in the hospital for 3 days, and I was really positively surprised with the food, like how good the food was. I could choose from the menu. They would bring me like different meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything like very warm and nicely made. And as I was giving birth over the weekend of August 1st, which is a national day in Switzerland, I also got some very cute desserts with the Swiss flags, which was super nice. And they also serve a specific type of bread for that day, which I didn't know, but I mean, they just brought it. So that was nice. And then I could also ask for tea and water as much as I needed to. Also, the doctors would come and check on me and check on the baby. And that's when they noticed that the baby unfortunately had reduced heartbeat, and therefore he needed to stay in neonatology for observation. So as of the 2nd night, they moved him to the neonatology room, and there he stayed for an extra 10 days. Overall, he had a very good care. Everything was available there on site. The neonatology department was literally 10 steps away from my room, and therefore I could go to my baby and nurse and then go back to my bed and rest. And I mean, at this age, babies do sleep a lot, like really a lot. He would nurse and then he would sleep for like 2 hours straight. So we just managed those days like that, and it didn't feel like too much, but then later we realized that it was actually very, very difficult. I went home after 3 days, and then after 10 days, we were able to go home all together with our son, and that was the whole birth experience. So right after birth, I got my pain medications. I got ibuprofen and paracetamol with like interchangeable doses, so like one after another, so I could take the maximal doses throughout the 24 hours. Also, as I had vacuum extraction, I received the subcutaneous shot of heparin, and that's like avoiding the blood clots. And they do that if you have any type of surgical intervention, and also after the C-section they do that. But with regular birth, if it's not like complicated, if it didn't have any specific intervention, then they might not do it if you don't have any risk factors. But in my case, I had it, and then all the medication obviously was covered by the insurance, so I didn't have to pay for it. And then when the baby was there, all the clothes, all the diapers, everything was provided. I didn't need to bring him anything. I packed clothes and diapers into my hospital bag because I didn't know exactly what they will be giving to me. Even when we arrived to the hospital, they said that they prefer to dress the baby in the hospital clothes because once the clothes get removed, if they get dirty or something, they drop them directly in the wash. And if the baby is dressed in our clothes, then those clothes can get lost in the wash. And that's actually what happened, because we left a set with which our baby was supposed to go home, and we just kept it in the drawer in the neonatology department. And then at some point they managed to get that set into the wash, and then when we came to pick up our baby, there were no clothes to bring him in. So eventually, yeah, we got the set from the hospital and then brought it back. So I mean, you don't need to worry about any of that. They would also have like all the diaper creams and stuff. And they would also give you some sort of presents from partners. And in our case, they just had like a bag of like little samples and stuff like that. And then they would also offer some additional services in the hospital, but you can always refuse, you don't have to take it. And those services include like newborn photography or stuff like that. So yes, those are all the things. And then we went home, and then the postpartum fun begins. And I can share more about the postpartum experience that we had here in Switzerland with all the midwives and stuff in the upcoming videos. And if that's something that you're interested in, then don't forget to give a thumbs up to this video and leave a comment below. And I see you in the future videos. Take care and bye bye.